Good afternoon, everybody, and thank furlough it's Friday once again at the end of another week, actually nearly the end of the month. So I hope you've all got your self-assessment tax returns sorted. I know there was the possibility the government would allow everybody to hang on for a little while, but no, they wanted their returns in by the end of the month, although there is a bit of a possibility that you don't have to pay up immediately, which to my mind, as soon as they said that, I presumed everybody was just not going to pay on time anyway. Yeah. So, but at least, as always with these things, if you've got the form in, they're happier. And it was always weird. I remember years ago when I was doing my own VAT returns for my small business that if you get the return in, the money almost came as a secondary thing. They just wanted to know what they were due to get in, which I suppose is interesting. Anyway, as always, I am joined by Jackie Mount, who I think has probably now done more programs than I have on ICB TV, but this is episode number 113. And yeah, it comes at a time when lots of things going on out there, as you know. Everybody's hoping to get their jab. Everybody's hoping to stay safe. We're all being locked down. We're not seeing anybody. And I have noticed that a lot of the Zoom meetings I hold now are with very pale-faced people because they haven't had their trip away yet to wherever it is they normally go. And I'm seeing people in a completely different light. Jackie, I understand you've got a lot to talk about today.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. We've got quite a few bits. As always, on a Friday morning or Thursday night and Friday morning, my inbox gets full up with emails from HMRC and updates and my HMRC contacts. And funny enough, Gary was saying about the self-assessment returns and various other bits. I was on an HMRC, one of the tax agent groups on Tuesday, and one of the HMRC ladies who was doing a presentation that actually has presented at our summit. So Rebecca, you will have spoken to her probably or met her. Offered to come on and help us with one of these coronavirus thank furlough it's Fridays if we needed anyone. And I said, well, actually, I think we've probably got this all right. But I said, but what I do need help with is someone from HMRC that can come and clearly explain how we deal with the bookkeeping for EU export VAT. And there was this deathly hush, and they all sort of shook their heads like mad and said, no, it's not me. So I'm still trying to find someone that can come on and answer some of your questions.
We'll find somebody. I don't know who
we will get someone. I think I may possibly have someone that might offer to come on and answer your questions, because I have loads of questions from the webinar that I did on Tuesday and trying to frantically catch up with that now. So let's have a look at what we got today. Couple of things came out this week. So let me just share my screen because I've got some, the easiest way to do this is are we sharing? Yes, I think we are. Right, so I need to go into, not that one, I need that one. Right, okay. The first thing, we'll have a look at the furloughing stuff first of all. And there was an email came out from my contact at HMRC earlier this week with some changes to the various sections on gov.uk. And the first one, just to point out, is this is where the furlough calculator is. Now, to be honest, I'm wondering how much use this is these days, because there are so many exemptions. If you go onto this page by saying how much can you claim, and you come up with this, if you come down, it does explain, as you're probably all aware, the dates and what you can do and when you've got to put them in, and the January submissions done, and we're now looking at, the end of December submissions have been done, the claims have been done, and they're now looking at starting to claim for the end of January, going through to February, and all sorts of dates. It gets very confusing. Now, interestingly enough, what's come out this week is what you cannot use the calculator for. And I'm going to leave that on the screen for a few minutes, because rather than you try and grab it all down, if you do want to have a look at this, what I suggest you do is to rewatch this through again and then freeze the screen on this and take down what you need. But there are an awful lot of situations where you cannot use that calculator. And basically, unless you're on a fairly standard flexible earnings or anything else, or fixed pay, I wouldn't even bother to try to use it anymore, because I think you've all got the calculations in hand now. I haven't heard of anybody who's got problems with it recently, so I think you're all well into that, and anybody who's had queries from HMRC, I think, have probably sorted them now, because nobody's come back to me to say that they won't. So that's the bit about the calculator. And the other interesting thing is if you remember when we started this, and you've got a flexible pay, you were looking at the paying the higher of either the average of the last 12 months or the relevant month going back. And it was quite, that's how we explained it. Well, it may have taken HMRC a whole year to get there, but they've actually now come up with a new heading, and I'm just trying to see what it's called. I think it's called the countback method, which is the method for looking at the various months. So those going back over November to April 21 are the maximum amount that you can actually claim per day. So there is now, I know it's on here somewhere and I can't find it. Never mind. Okay, so that's the first one. It's the change of use of the calculator. And the second thing that's happened, and this is what this meeting was about that I was on Tuesday, is that HMRC have now released, and it went out a couple of days ago, a list of all of the companies who have applied in December for furloughing. Now, if you have a look at this, this is a spreadsheet which I've actually downloaded, and it's quite small. I don't know if you can see that, but these are all of the companies listed down the left-hand side, and there are an awful lot of them. If you go right the way down, it comes down to something like 741,285 businesses have put a claim in December for furloughing. Now, that's not everybody who's put a claim in, because companies could apply to have their company name taken off of this list. And as this is the first month, HMRC have basically taken everybody off that's applied to be taken off the list, regardless of whether they've got the right to be taken off or the right not to be taken off. It's taken a long time to get to this stage because of things like GDPR and what they can publish and what they can't publish. So what's come out this week is purely a list of the companies. Now, this is all aimed at the basically to try to minimize fraud, because going back to day one, we all know that there are companies who are applying for furlough claims but are asking people either to work or they're not passing on the furlough money. They're only a minority, but there will have been companies who have been fraudulently claiming. So what HMRC are doing now is they're publishing the list of company names only. Now, this is the name as it appears in your PAYE registration. So it may not be the name of the company, but it's what will appear on the pay slips. So that if anybody who is an employee is looking at this and thinking, well, actually, they've applied and I've been on furlough, but I'm not working, or I've been working and I haven't had any money, they can actually then look at taking this a stage further. Now, there is a new list. This list is going to be coming out every month, but it will only show 1 month. So there will be a list. This is the list for December. Now, once all of the claims have been processed and the changes have been made, which I think is today is the last day for making changes, I think, to anything from December, they will actually be publishing the information in bands of what these companies have claimed. Now, once that's been published, individual employees will be able to go onto their personal tax account and actually look at how much has been claimed on their behalf. So they can check with what they've actually been paid, but they will need to do that through their personal tax account. And that comes out, but this is interesting. These are the bands into which the claims are falling. So the lowest band is at £1 to £10,000. This is in the month of December. The highest band is everything over 100 million. That is 100 million one and above. Am I reading that, Gary? 100 million, isn't it? 100 million and above. So there are some companies who are claiming for an awful lot. I don't know how many companies fall into that band, but that's the band they've taken it up to. So next month, they will start to publish the amounts next to the company. So you will see the company name and the total amount in which band they fall in for their claims. They are not going to publish details of individual payments. That is then up to the individual to go onto their personal tax account and actually look at how much they've been paid. And that's going to be in their personal tax account. There'll be a new tab on there that they can have a look at. And if they really suspect that there's been some fraud, there's the link on the bottom of that screen to the fraud. Now, how much they're going to publicise this, I'm not sure. It's going out on the general HMRC update list. So, and we picked it up on the professional bodies group on Tuesday. So watch this space for that one, and we'll have a look at next month's to see. I have to say, it is quite difficult to find. You do actually have to put that whole title into the HMRC's search engine, and it will find it. The only way I could actually find it was to use the link that I was given in an email this morning. So anyway, that's that one. So that's the two new ones. Now, the other thing that came out this week, and that's probably a bit small for you to read, these are all the changes. I get one of these every week, and these are the changes that have happened to the coronavirus pages on gov.uk. So for everything that's changed, I have to say from here, it can be quite difficult to actually find what has been changed because they change it unless you go back and look at an archive view. But the one at the bottom, the new page, that's the employer publication details that I've just shown you. And the fact that you can ask HMRC not to publish that information, and they will look at whether that's a valid request to have the information withheld. Various changes there, as I've shown you, the calculator method and the new calendar look back calculation. That's what they called it. That's the one where you compare the average with each month, and each month is called the calendar look back calculation. So somebody at HMRC is thinking up all these lovely terms and names. So the other thing that's going to happen now, this is happening actually in February, and HMRC are changing the agent services homepage and how you use your agent services account. So let's just have a look at the changes that they're making. This comes in due to be released. I think it's going to be released between the 3rd and the 5th of February. So that's in time for you to make your next MTD return, which is probably due by the 7th of February. So if you're doing an MTD VAT return, that's due by the 7th of February. And if you log into your agent services account, it's going to look slightly different. I have to say, I haven't looked at my agent service account, and this isn't actually coming out till February, but when you do get to there, these are the sort of things that they try to make it clearer. This is apparently a change that's come back from feedback from people, agents who use this. So there should be lots of links in there. And this, I think, is a welcome banner. I was sort of saying, literally, this arrived in my inbox this morning, so I haven't really had a chance to have a look at this. This came from HMRC. So if anybody wants any details of that, we can put it up somewhere or host it out to you. Yeah. Lots of things here, capital gains tax, other tax services. So there's lots of links there into adding all sorts of things into that. So that's all I've got to share. Interesting article came out on I picked up through one of the Accountancy Daily newspapers. Last year, the Office of Tax Simplification made a recommendation for simplifying the calculation and paying of tax. Now, that's both for individuals and probably the smaller micro entities. So exactly the type of businesses that our members are dealing with. And the Nuffield Foundation apparently have sponsored some research into this. And I haven't read the full research. I've only read a synopsis of it. But apparently they come to the conclusion that if you are an employed individual, you will end up paying far more tax than if you're self-employed or an owner business manager who's living on dividends. And they think this is unfair, and they're looking at various ways that they can recommend that this is made more even. Now, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know whether it's going to be that employees are going to pay less tax, or self-employed and owner business managers are going to make more tax. But a lot of this is to do with NICs. Now, the reason I've raised this is right back at the start of furlough. Gary will remember this. we had a conversation in one of the very early days, very early webinars, where people who took their income from dividends were not entitled to either the self-employment grant or to furlough themselves, because that's based on PAYE. And what Gary and I were quite firm about is that if you are taking out most of your income on dividends, you're paying less tax and national insurance than perhaps someone who's got the same amount of money paying through an employed situation. And we both said that, you know, you've paid less tax, you've paid less NIC, therefore you're probably not entitled to the same amount of support that HMRC are giving at the start of this pandemic. And I'm not going to go any further than that, but this research seems to back up exactly what you've said, because I know a lot of publicity was given about the people who couldn't get any help from this, and there are still people who can't get help, and I do know that, and I am conscious that it's causing an awful lot of hardship in some areas. But as we said, one of the reasons is that if people were paying less tax than NI, they're not going to be able to claim as much benefit now. So I'm just going to put that out there. We'll watch this space on that one, because I know there is going to be some work done over the next year or so about possibly fairer ways to pay tax, fairer ways of charging tax. So Gary and I will keep a close eye on that, and I'm sure we will let everyone know.
Yeah, I think this had to come. I think Bill Dodwell, when he spoke to us, he's actually from the tax simplification office. I mean, he was saying that it doesn't work, it doesn't pan out really, and too many people do this. Of course, one of the big problems was when people were working for the BBC, for example, and then they suddenly became a limited company as an individual.
Yeah.
And a huge fee and paying no tax on it at all, or very little tax on it, again claiming it all as dividends and putting some of it in various places. I think David Cameron called one or two entertainers out on air and got into because of that. But yeah, I think something has got to become a little bit more substantial. It's got to be sorted so that we don't have this. And I think the other thing is that I was talking to somebody from one of the employment organisations. They were saying the problem is that a lot of people dip in and out of their own home business, earn a bit of money, then stop, then earn a bit more money and stop, and that never comes out into the tax regime. But actually, they are in business and all that sort of thing. I mean, we've had it ourselves. I think we had a case on here a little while ago that I was talking about, where somebody had said, I need to see your bank account because I'm doing your self-assessment tax return. I said, I'm sorry, that you can't see that because it's my wife's bank account as well. And I said, well, no, I'm sorry, I want to see it. So they found £50,000 that was going through this.
Yeah.
But the upshot is, apparently, they also found that the wife had been running a business and she hadn't declared anything. Because she said, oh, well, that's just pocket money. Well, pocket money, £5,000 is still pocket money. It's not really.
That one of the reasons they're bringing in making tax digital for ITSA, tax self-assessment, is to try to avoid things like that, because I've argued this, and I'm about to argue it again through the corporation tax submission, that consultation response that we're making, that the level for income has been set at £10,000, which is actually below the level of the personal allowance. So if you're working for yourself on an extra business, but it's all you do, your own business, you won't have to pay tax anyway, but you've still got to do quarterly uploads. But what it's there for at that level is for the people who are in that situation. They're using it as a second income, or they have a property that they rent out on top of their income, and that has to be declared. Anything over £10,000 has to be declared, and that's so that HMRC can hopefully stop the errors, transcription errors, when you're putting things in directly rather than going from your software, and B, to try and catch everybody that should be doing that. How they're going to police it, I don't know yet, but we'll see. So Gary mentioned the SAT deadline. Interestingly enough, I did say a week or so ago that there will be no penalties for late submission for COVID reasons. Now, that's changed this week. HMRC have come out and said that providing that the submission is made by the 28th of February, so it's only a 1-month extension, there will be no penalties levied. There will be penalties after that, but not up until the 28th of February. Now, HMRC are still adamant that is not an extension to filing, because the deadline for paying the tax, an estimate of, is still the 31st of January. So you must pay your tax by the 31st of January, because if you don't pay it, you will be charged interest on the tax that you should have paid. Now, obviously, I don't know what rate of interest they're going to charge, but HMRC publish their interest rate. So it'll be whatever it's going to be, 2-3%. I don't know how much it's going to be. I think it's going to be higher than the basic rate, the loan rate. So we still need to try to get those in, but I do know we've had a number of members who, for COVID reasons, are not going to be able to reach that 31st of January deadline. Now, as I've said before, bearing in mind that this tax return is the one that finished on the 4th of April or the 31st of March last year. So if you've been doing the accounts for the whole year for your clients and you're doing the self-assessment returns, you should be able to give them an estimate of exactly how much tax they should pay, and then they may have to pay interest on the rest, but there won't actually be a penalty until the 28th of February. And the only other thing that I picked up yesterday was that, just a minor thing, Companies House have paused the strike-offs of companies from the 21st of January to the 21st of February. So if anybody is in the process of being involved in a company that's being struck off for whatever, either voluntarily or compulsorily, that's not going to happen between the 21st of January and the 21st of February. It didn't happen for a long time last year. It just started again, and now they've paused it again. So that's all I've actually got for information. We've got a couple of things coming up.
Yeah, I've got one or two on here.
What we've got.
Trudy Biles, are they going to allow director owners to benefit from the employer's allowance? We are penalised with additional employers' NI, which self-employed people don't pay. I think it's probably going to
yes,
the other way around,
no. As far as I'm aware, Trudy, they're not changing that. However, although you pay your employer's national insurance, that is tax deductible. So you have to pay it, but it comes off your tax. So you're still paying less tax overall, and you are getting a tax allowance for that, which others perhaps aren't getting because they've got the allowance. So the full amount of national insurance that you pay comes off of the bottom line of your tax, and then it's charged at whatever rate you're charged. So this is one of the things where I think this has got to be sorted out.
Yeah,
always
Susanna,
an issue for director owners. There's always been an issue for that.
Yeah. Suzanne says, if the return is due to be paid by the 31st of January, which is not a banking day, this would mean that payments have to be processed into the banking system today, because if you process the payment on Sunday, it will not be shown as paid on time.
I think that's right. I think that's probably right. I hate to say it, Suzanne. I think you're probably right. So today's probably the deadline then for banking day. I think for one day, the interest is going to be very little for one day, I think, though.
Yeah, I think the thing is that the banking system has not caught up with the 24/7 yet, has it? I mean, it has in many ways. It will stop you using stuff, but yeah, I think it will have to catch up, and we'll become a 24/7 operating world. Peter Lepage, are you able to stage a seminar on the TOMS post-Brexit?
Yeah, it's on the list, Peter, if I can find someone to do it with me.
Yeah. I've had a couple of people who said they are experts. I'm checking them out at the moment because there are a lot of people who think they're experts, as we all know. I hope to do that very shortly. We will contact everybody, but keep an eye.
Yeah, I think with that one as well, it would be quite nice to get some questions in advance on that, so we can actually put it. It's not one that I want to certainly do myself because I don't know enough about it. But I'll probably be involved. But it might be nice to get some questions in advance on that so we know what we're looking at. Oh, Helen's come back and said, at the time, I remember the idea behind the employer's NI allowance was to encourage recruitment and creating jobs. That was why it was given once you had an employee. Yes, actually, experts, definition of expert, Helen, that's my definition. Definition of an expert: X is an unknown factor, and spurt is a drip under pressure. I remember that from the very first day I was at university, and that's what the Vice Chancellor, who was introduced as an expert in his field, said, and I love that. I've used it for years, so yeah, good on you, Helen. I'm there with you. Right, while we're talking about national insurance, don't forget that from April, if you do take on somebody from ex-forces, then you can get a year's free employer's national insurance from April.
Joanne Saunders says, last week you mentioned the opening an EU company along with a UK company. Would it be a benefit with opening a company in Northern Ireland and the UK? Ooh.
Northern Ireland, I would say no, because there is no VAT advantage in that, because the VAT situation between Great Britain and Northern Ireland is the UK system. So you will charge VAT as normal, backwards and forwards, and it's the standard domestic VAT system. The differences with trading with Northern Ireland are the customs declarations, and you're going to have to make those customs declarations across the Irish Sea anyway, whether your company is based in Northern Ireland or in England or Scotland or Wales. You're going to have those customs declarations. At the moment, they're simplified declarations, but they will become more demanding as we get through to July, because there's another set coming out in April and again on the 1st of July. So I don't actually think it would be worthwhile setting up a company in Northern Ireland. If you're trading with the EU, there might be an advantage in that. And I have a technical query out at the moment. I don't know if Susan's online, but if she is, I'm dealing with it, Susan, about a client who is based partly in Spain and partly here, and buys some installation project which is installed in both Spanish homes and UK homes. And I'm just trying to work out whether that would be an advantage to set up a company, say in Spain, to deal with the Spanish VAT and the Spanish clients. But then that's going to compound the issue of corporation tax and things like that. So again, we need to take advice on this.
Similar to the Northern Ireland question, we've had, I think, 3 queries this month that we haven't really been able to handle, which is, should we start to think about forming a company in Scotland? Because it's moving more and more towards Scotland versus the rest of the United Kingdom. And I'm saying, well, no, just hang on and see what happens politically. Nothing's done and dusted till it's finished. I have no idea on that one. So don't start jumping in with all those sorts of things yet. A non-UK country is one thing, but I wouldn't start worrying about the union quite yet. Question from Nicola Payne. Hi, Nicola. Please, can you clarify if an employee has to isolate several times, as told to by Track and Trace, can you claim the SSP back each time, or is there a maximum number of days altogether? HMRC talks about the 2 weeks, but is that total or each isolation period?
I've got a nasty feeling it's 2 weeks in total. It's 1 reclaim, but I would have to check it, because it may very well be that it depends on the length of time between the claims. So Nicola, I will check on that one and get back to you on that one.
Charles Jenkinson, what about genuine director taking risk of starting and running a business? Should he not be rewarded for the risk of providing employment and contributing to the economy? Charles, it's a very broad question, and whenever I get caught between a rock and hard place, I hope that somebody in government tells me, and then if I don't like the decision, I can argue with it, and if I do like it, I can applaud it. That's why they're there and doing their job. It is difficult. I mean, how much do you reward somebody for being an entrepreneur and starting their business off, and is that okay? But then if they sell it for millions, does the government get a bit back? And there are so many questions on this. It might well be worth talking to some sort of company guru about this, if it's the sort of thing that is genuinely of interest to members. I know it's not totally bookkeeping, then it might be worth bringing somebody on in the future just to talk to us about it. We've actually got a couple of topics that are coming up at the moment that people are asking about, which are not specifically bookkeeping. One of which I was actually going to mention. I'm part of something called the Transparency Task Force, and that's run by a man called Andy Agathulu, and it's all about scams at the moment. So I'm waiting for a date from them. I was part of a webinar the other day on this, and a discussion forum, and you would not believe some of the scams that are being put out at the moment. Everything from ringing up old age pensioners and saying they can have their job, but they've got to pay for it, to getting details and then completely draining people's bank accounts. I mean, it's not bookkeeping, but the funny thing was, and the reason why I think it might be of interest to you, is that a lot of these scams take money out of businesses. They're not just going for individuals anymore. And it would appear that businesses, because they perhaps have several people working in the business, people further down the chain sometimes will have paid over huge sums of money before asking the question, well, hold on a minute, should I have done that? So I'm hoping to get that. I'll get Andy on at some stage, probably next week, but also one of the experts, because it's billions of pounds going out at the moment, and it ruins people's lives, which is terrible.
Faye's on. Hi, Faye. We spoke about VAT extension and VAT payments last week. My client had a text to say that the VAT that's due on the 20th of March and the 30th of June are now deferred to the 31st of February 2021. Information on how to pay these when due, including a new payment scheme that allows you to pay in instalments, search paying deferred VAT on gov.uk. Yes, you do have to apply for it. You no longer have to pay that VAT by the 31st of March this year. You have a year's extension, but what you have to do is apply for the deferred payments and pay in 11 direct debit instalments so that it's cleared by the following March. So that might help individuals if they want to go that route. So yeah, thanks for that, Faye. That's a good reminder there. Claire, oh, here we go. I knew this one was going to crop up today. Do we no longer need to use the T4 Sage code? That's one of the VAT codes for EU sales from January 21. I know we still have to do intrastat returns for imports for the whole of 2021, so assume we will still use T7 for those. Presumably sales will be T0. Actually, no, you don't use T7 or T4 because those EU codes have completely disappeared now if you're based in Great Britain from the 1st of January. Because all sales outside, as far as HMRC are concerned, should go in as T0. They're zero rated sales, providing that they're exported. The EU VAT side has to be dealt with on the EU, and that's the one we're still all trying to get our head around. And I've got loads of examples where people are being charged all sorts of things. When you are buying goods from abroad, the opposite should happen. They should either charge you UK VAT, or they export it from Europe to us and sell it to you, and you report that through the import VAT under the deferred VAT as a reverse charge. So that's going to go into boxes 1 and 4. The EU codes are only now used by people trading in Northern Ireland with Europe. The rest of them, no more EC sales codes. The intrastat returns you will still have to do, as I say, for at least 1 more year. But you have to have a fairly high turnover of goods coming in from a European country. It's quite high. I think I heard someone say it was 1 million, but I'm not sure it's that high anymore. So no, T4 is no longer applicable for if you're based in Great Britain. Right. There's one in the chat line. Ian saying, companies in other locations that will not create a group accounting problem where you have to have produce consolidated financial statements. There would then also be an added burden of currency translation and transfer pricing issues if you form other companies into a group. Ian, that's not something I think we can get into today because that's quite specific, and I'm not sure how many of our members will be into group accounting. Ian, if that's an issue and you want to take up, can you email us on that one, please? Yeah. And I will pick that one up separately from today. Oh, and Torbin said intrastat level for imports is 1.5 million. Gosh, it's higher than even I thought it was. So thank you. And no problem, Ian. But could you send that in an email to us, and then I'll follow up on that if you need me to follow up, because I'm not sure it's something that generally members would get involved in forming other companies and locations that will not create a group. Oh, I see what you mean. If you're forming a company in Spain and you don't want it to form a group, I'm with you. Yeah, I need to look into that one. I'm not into group accounts myself, but
I want to send out actually everybody's best wishes to Nicola Paddy. Unfortunately, I understand that she has gone into hospital with COVID, which doesn't sound very good. And we're, Nicola, we're with you. Nicola comes to everything that's ICB. She's always with us on our Accountex stand. She's been to us on various other things we do. She's really well known in the South. And, Nicola, we wish you well. I'm sure you're going to come out and rejoin the ranks of ICB pretty quickly, and so I hope it's mild and it doesn't really affect you too heavily.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was in contact with Nikki earlier this week. She was, when I spoke to, well, I emailed her because we didn't have a conversation. She's actually on day 31 of this, and she said it really is not nice. And yes, she has had to have some treatment. And as you say, we send all our best wishes, but she has really had it quite badly, I think. But fortunately, on the mend, I understand. So yeah, I echo that, Gary.
Yeah.
Okay. Naomi said, Nikki, my thoughts are with you. Hope you recover soon. I'm sure she will, but I think it's going to take a little while. I think if you get it badly, it does take a long time to get over it.
Yeah, and I don't think people really know how long it's going to take, because people only got it 12 months ago and they're still suffering, so we're not quite sure. But yeah, hopefully that works out. It's difficult for everybody.
I have to say, Leslie, because of his age, had his first vaccination last Saturday, and so we will see what effect that's going to have once we decide to go back out into the wild world again and see family and friends when we're allowed to. Hopefully.
Yeah. Last week, obviously, I mentioned that Jackie had been elevated, been given a vice presidency, and I think she showed you the telegram that we sent. Somebody said, "Oh, this must be the Founders' New Year's Honours list." As this but actually, along that line, I'm very pleased to say that a bit like buses, when you get one, they come along in twos. We have today had an acceptance of a role as vice president from another one of our stalwarts, Dr. Philip Dunn.
Oh, excellent.
Now, he has been a non-executive on our board for the last 10 years. He keeps us in trim. He always scrutinises the accounts very deeply and spends most of his time grilling our finance director, Julius Tafora. But he's also been very useful to me personally, sometimes with somebody to talk to when I've got a difficult decision that I'm trying to come to something. He's very helpful like that. He's also helped Jackie as well with some education stuff. And they haven't always seen eye to eye on things. I think
I have a great respect for Philip, but I have to say there are very few people that scare me, and Philip can scare me. But I have a great fondness and a great respect. I've known him a long time, and congratulations, Philip. That's absolutely brilliant.
Well, he's worked with ICB since day one, and we knew him, all of us, before ICB even existed. So he was brought on as one of our cornerstones, as it were. So I'm very pleased that he's accepted.
Oh, I'm really pleased.
So he's staying on the board. Philip is an absolute cricket fan generally, but Yorkshire fan specifically, and he's well known for his array of bow ties. So anyway, yeah, we have had on occasions to move a board meeting so that it doesn't interfere with a test. Anyway,
this is true. This is true.
Although virtual board meetings now are making life easier for everybody. So congratulations, Philip. It's actually,
yeah, that's fantastic. Gary, can I just go back, because Naomi's, there's some comments coming in backing up what we said about Nikki. Naomi's had 7 family members go down with COVID this week, and Heather Palmer said, I had it back in April last year and still have terrible symptoms. It's awful. Stay safe. So Heather and I are in contact on a fairly regular basis. So I knew she'd been poorly, but that's it's really scary. I think when this whole thing started, we knew it was going to be bad, but I think it's far worse than we ever thought it was going to be, I think.
Yeah, we heard that Heather had it, but I've noticed she's been doing a lot of tweeting recently, so I thought you were back through it, Heather. But anyway, okay.
Still suffering a bit.
Yeah,
but we are ICB bookkeepers, Heather, aren't we? So we carry on regardless.
Yeah. Hopefully
not just bookkeeper.
And but I noticed the Duchess of Cambridge has just said it's really tough being in lockdown when you're a parent because of all the work that you have to do. So yeah, it unfortunately,
I feel very sorry for parents in lockdown in apartments with little outside space as well. That I was watching some on the news, and that's got to be the worst situation, being in a small high-rise flat. Just anyone out there in that situation with young children, it would
It's tough, and funnily enough, we were as ICB talking about the office, which has remained in mothballs since March, the whatever it was that we all disappeared home. Immediately lockdown was mentioned. Should we go back? Should we stay? Should we all continue to work from home? And every time we go to make a decision that possibly we ought to reopen the office, lockdown is extended a bit further or increased or whatever. And we still haven't decided. And we've got a lot of people now who are working way past sort of travel distance to the office, Mrs. Mount being one of them. Yeah. So, I think we are inevitably going to have a mix as we come back, hopefully, to some form of normality. And, the jab at least seems to be working. I'm hoping that's the light at the end of a very long and windy tunnel. Although, I have to say, I was watching our Prime Minister the other day sitting on his green bench, looking decidedly, worn out. I mean, having so much scrutiny about every single thing. And I'm not taking any position as to whether he's right or wrong with the way he's handled this, but it's a hell of a job. But anyway, let's hope we get through this and we can look back on this as something we can tell our grandchildren if ever we get to see them again. And look at that. You're looking forward to seeing your grandchildren, I presume, Jackie, at some stage.
I have. I think I've seen them once. I mean, mine are older. They're not little. They're teenagers, and one's driving and looking for work at the moment. He's just had an interview and been accepted for part-time and night work at one of the very well-known takeaway food establishments. So that means he can earn some money to afford to run his car. Faye's just come back. She's just had a look at the deferred VAT scheme. Remember all that deferred VAT we were talking about? The scheme's not open yet. You can't opt in. It will be available early this year. So if you think about it, that deferred VAT isn't due till the end of March. So they're probably still setting that whole system up to allow you to do carry that forward onto direct debit payments. So, and Sarah said, it's good for the mentorship of the next generation to have an office and the next generation of staff for ICB. Working from home is not good for the next generation. No, I think as Gary said, it's a mixture. I think we've got a lot of young staff, haven't we, Gary? As you said,
we have, and they're straight out of university. So, I mean, they escape the mess that universities are in at the moment, which is one good thing. But yeah, they've started work with us, and one of our girls, Maddie, who was really, really good. It just got too much for her. She left home not long before this all happened. She was living in a flat with another girl that was also working from home. And she's left because she managed to find a company that was still working from an office. And she's gone to do that that's one of the many reasons. So it's a shame. We were sorry to lose Maddie. And we've got other people with us now. Antonia's another one, Alina. They've both joined us since lockdown. I've had the pleasure of meeting Alina, but never the pleasure of meeting Antonia, unfortunately, all interviewed online, everything else. And it is difficult. And I think they do need, there's a whole social interaction that they've never had, as you say, and that's what they're going to miss most. And I mean, I met my wife at work. Lots of people meet their partners at work. Jackie, you met your partner at work.
I certainly did. Yes, I certainly did.
Work, yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it quite works on Zoom, but might not be too bad if you could only see a bit on Zoom and you could base it on that. But anyway, never mind. Such is life. I think we're going to get through this during this year. Everything I've got that I can cross, I have crossed. So let's hope that to be the case.
Right. I think we've covered all the questions so far. I think I'm just running down. I think we've covered everything. Can I just say that I still have quite a few Brexit questions to get through. What I have done, just in case anybody else comes in with anything, we've updated the Brexit Hub. I did a webinar on Tuesday on online marketplace selling. So that's the Amazon, eBay type thing. And a lot of the questions from that are now going on the Brexit Hub, and that video is now up on the Brexit Hub. It looks slightly different now because we're using a different system, and these technical webinars that we're doing are for members only. So you do have to book in. So you can only access it if you are a member. And that one on Tuesday is now up on the Brexit Hub. You can actually see it there. And still a lot of questions to come for me to do. And I have to say, if I haven't come back and put your answer up there yet or contacted you directly, I'm still trying to find the answers to it. But I think we will possibly have another session on that in a week or so on a Tuesday and cover any more questions.
Yeah, I was unfortunately, when you mentioned that list of people claiming furlough, Jackie, I totally switched off and went on and tried to find a few people on there that we know have claimed furlough. But some of the I know some of the other professional bodies have furloughed people, but we actually took on an extra, I think it was 7 staff. But even that, we've had such a huge increase in the amount of call upon our time from members that, you know, I know some of you are finding it a bit difficult to get through. It's better on the phone if you can. The emails followed by the chaser email, followed by the, you know, the second chaser, etc. It does stack up. You know, we get thousands and thousands of these a week. If it's urgent, give us a call, and you know, we'll try and get you through to somebody. You know, I'd like to say we were answering every call and answering every email, you know, within a couple of minutes, 30 seconds if it's a phone or something or other. That's what we're trying to do. We are trying to bring more people in, and you know, we're going to do whatever we can. However, I'm just really pleased that we have remained open for business right the way from the middle of March when everybody else locked down. Our exams have been run right the way around the world, 24/7, on demand, even proctored exams. You know, we were the first people in the country to offer a proctored exam. I think it took us 2 weeks, if I remember rightly,
Yeah.
Jackie.
Yeah, it was very quick.
Yeah, so, you know, I think we've done pretty good. We've not had any government money. We haven't asked for any. We didn't want any. We've done it for our own resources. We didn't put your fees up last year and all this sort of stuff. You know, so I like to think we've done our bit. So please bear with us. But yeah, I'm taking on board that sometimes we haven't quite got round to all of the telephone calls. Sorry, no, telephone calls I think we're okay. It's all of the emails. And but anyway, we are endeavouring to keep pushing and keep getting better and better and better back to the level of service that we've always been renowned for. Thank you for that. Are we about
I
out?
think we're just about there. Yeah, I can't see any others that I've missed.
No. And
Not
yeah,
too many queries today.
I think we'll let everybody get off. Bearing in mind what we've heard about of our members already today, unfortunately getting COVID, please be very careful out there. As soon as the number of people going into hospital or unfortunately passing away goes down, everybody seems to be very blasé and they shoot straight back out onto the street. It's too early to do that, guys. Let's stay where we are. Let's rely upon that wonderful cloud system that you all now live and work by. Let's make sure we do stay safe and we get through this. Don't let's mess it up again, any others. And my big question is, how can they still be playing football? They seem to hug each other every 5 minutes. You know, how does that work?
Unbelievable.
It's perhaps to try and keep the country happy or something or other, depending on whether you're winning or losing, I suppose. So have a great weekend. I hope your January was as good as it could be under the circumstances, that you are continuing to flourish, you're continuing to stretch yourself as an ICB bookkeeper, and that you will join us again next week. So it's Mike on Monday, it's Technical Tuesday with Jackie again next week. There might be a couple of others squeezed in as well. Look out for those. And if not, we'll see you next Friday when we thank Furlough. It's Friday once again. So have a good weekend, everybody. See you soon. Bye.